Tēnā koutou katoa, no mai haere mai ki Occupational Therapy New Zealand. Whakaora ngā hau Aotearoa. My name's Tui and I'll be hosting you today at the Hui Tui Hono Online Event 2021. So the theme for the event this year is Te Mātai Paingarau, or Looking Beyond the Horizon. And we'd like to acknowledge our sponsors who are supporting the event this week. They are Able Access, WS Medical, the OT Board of New Zealand, Outback Bathrooms, and the Otago Polytechnic. Thanks to our supporters. So we're pleased to have you join us today, but before we step into our learning space with Ellie Christoph from BMS Insurance, let's begin with karakia. Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa paunamu te moana hei huarahi mō tātou I tēnei rā, aroha atu, aroha mai. Tātou ia tātou katoa. May peace be widespread, may the sea be like greenstone, a pathway for all of us today. Let us show respect for each other, finding us together. Amene. Well, kia ora, Ellie, invite you to turn your camera on now.
Kia ora, Tui, thanks so much.
I'll just stop sharing and I'll hand over to you for introductions.
Thank you.
It's all yours.
All right, now I hope everyone can see that. All going
Yes,
on?
we can.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, well then I will begin. Occupational Therapy New Zealand, whakaora, nana hau, Aotearoa. Kia ora, kato. Hello everyone. This is going to be importance of insurance for occupational therapists. Today we'll cover who is BMS, benefits of the OTNZ-WNA membership insurance program, student insurance, what is professional indemnity, why is professional indemnity insurance important for occupational therapists, notifications, complaints, and claims. So first things first, BMS as a group has 18 global offices built around the world with teams of experts who are in reinsurance, wholesale, and association business. Our global affinity group with teams in Australia, New Zealand, and Canada are exclusive brokers for about 500,000 professionals. 50,000 of these are in healthcare professionals across Australia and New Zealand. We work with about 70 plus associations across all of the global market, including thousands of occupational therapists through the Canadian Association for Occupational Therapists, CAOT. With more than 30 years of experience in this sector globally and having a Melbourne and a Ottawa office dedicated to exclusively working with associations, we understand the unique needs of the risks associated by healthcare professionals, and we take pride in our ability and passion to work closely with our associations and clients. So what does the OTNZ-WNA professional indemnity program look like? Well, it's designed specifically to meet the needs of occupational therapists. There's an option of 1 million or 2 million professional indemnity cover, and there's additional options to cover off the public and products liability. This comes also with a 1 million or 2 million option. The entity is inclusive, however, it is subject to the terms of the policy. Now, the policy is revisited every year, so it is important to make sure to read this and familiarize what is covered and what isn't. Claims made insurance policy, so that means that you need to have insurance at the time of your notification or claim for your insurance policy to respond. Now, it has an unlimited retroactive day cover, which means that at the time that you purchase the insurance, whatever services that you have provided previously will be covered. You just need to have your insurance policy in place at the time of notification or the claim is made against you. It does have unlimited runoff, so that means that all you need to do is declare it, that you are going to retire or you're not going to continue practicing in the foreseeable future. There is no access on the policy. Toira, students. As a member of the OTNZ-WNA, we have a student program specifically there made for those who are studying to become occupational therapists. It is quite similar to the actual membership program, with professional indemnity insurance offered at the similar limit of either 1 or 2 million. It does have also an optional public liability aspect to it. Again, no access, unlimited retroactive dates, and it's still a claims-made policy. Now, do bear in mind, this is all subject to OTNZ-WNA student membership program. Professional indemnity. Now we're getting into what exactly insurance is. The professional indemnity is to cover you against any claims made for your professional services or any negligence as a consequence of your professional services. It is limited to a 1 million or 2 million, depending on the option you choose, in the aggregate, and has 2 reinstatements. That means that if your claim comes through and it goes up to 1 million or it goes up to 2 million, then you will be limited by that limit within any 1 year. However, if you happen to have another claim, there is 2 reinstatements of that same limit that you choose. It is a claims-made policy, so that means you do need to hold insurance at the time the claim is first made against you, or you are notified of the circumstances, incident, or complaint. So the complaint is actually included in this notification as well. As an occupational therapist, your focus usually is on your client needs, and professional indemnity will protect your interests. And obviously, make sure to read the policy wording to familiarize yourself with what your terms, conditions, and exclusions may be. So why is professional indemnity important for occupational therapists? Really, it's because there's some sound going in the background.
Sorry?
As an occupational therapist, you'll be seeing your patients, and before they come to you, they're quite often being referred because they've been through a difficult moment, or they've had something else happening in their life. So the first time that you do see your clients, it's not because just off the top, they're most likely to be referred over to your services. Oftentimes, you are going to be performing delicate service, and you do have, as an occupational therapist, the power to change lives. And it is not uncommon for complaints or allegations to be made against occupational therapists, especially because people and patients that are coming to you perhaps are sensitive right now. They've got some circumstances that are ongoing or continue to be ongoing. These allegations could obviously have a negative impact on your business, on the profession, and as well as yourself. We're all human. So the professional indemnity insurance really is to protect your interests. It's to make sure to step in and help you out at the time where perhaps the allegations or circumstances could impact you emotionally, professionally, and your business. There's a ward of experts within the insurance industry who can be appointed by the insurer, and they'll step in to take care of your needs, give you advice, or help you respond back to the allegations or complaints or notification. As I was discussing, notification, complaints, and claims do happen. So it's important to not be, stressed about these things in your professional circumstances and your professional life. There's always going to be that one incident, that one situation. Nobody is perfect, so these things happen. The important thing is to be a diligent note taker, always to report a claim or notification, and make sure that you're not feeling like you're alone. There's always going to be an expert and someone there to support you through the journey that you take. Notifications. It is important to think of notifications that anything that has happened while you are practicing as an occupational therapy is notified. We're not saying like literally every little thing you need to notify, but it is important to put a line in the sand. Anything that you could potentially be important or material, there is no harm in letting your insurer know about this. And that way you just protect yourself as an individual from a future where you could potentially be uninsured. So there's a few typical notifications. This is not an all-inclusive outline. It is an idea for you to think and take away in terms of what sort of notifications you should be making. Any mistakes, omissions, or oversights in your work. Any client complaint or criticisms about your work, even if you feel this may be unjustified. Clients refusing to pay for your services. Any remarks or comments, including emails or texts sent to you from your clients in respect of your session or assessment, where they're dissatisfied or voice their concerns. Now, this is very important, the last bit. Notifying your insurer does not mean admission. So you're not accepting that these are true. You're not trying to say that this is how it is. And we're not going to go ahead and accept whatever the circumstances are. The notification there is to make sure that an expert can give you some advice, some legal advice, and actually step you through the process. And by notifying the insurer, we can get ahead of any potentially curly or unpleasant future circumstances. The next part is really just about diligent note-taking. This is, again, not an all-inclusive list. And as occupational therapist professionals, you would all have your own understanding, and you would have been taught what to write, how to write it. But we're just going to go back to the basics. We're seeing a lot in the claims. It's important that you get the client information correct, that you've got a summary in there, that you've got somewhere that you've written down your plans and your recommendations, any progress updates. These are the sort of things that during the notification or a claim or circumstances are going to be picked up and they're going to be looked at. You want to be specific, but also remember privacy, right? So the privacy aspect of it is you can't divulge everything under the sun that your client provides you. So being specific probably is more important towards the progress, the recommendations you've given, the actual individual circumstances and your suggestions for your patients. You want to think about the client, and this is where we're getting to the thought aspect of it. You don't want to put your client in a worse off position by writing a report that could potentially be misconstrued, and you want to write clearly. So the next part, before I actually go to the actual claim studies, is I want to make sure that there's not that many occupational therapist professional indemnity claims in the whole of New Zealand. So when we're looking at the claims, we have to make sure that we are not providing information that could be found. It's all about privacy and making sure that the information we've collected is not divulged and not putting any individuals into harm's way. So when we're providing these case studies, we are ultimately slightly altering the information. We're not giving all of the information, and this is so that you cannot personally identify any individuals out in New Zealand or in your profession. Let's go to case study 1. We have an occupational therapist who was a subcontractor. Now, this is individual who is in the private sector, as Tui has kindly indicated. There is a private sector and there's obviously the public sector. So the occupational therapist was subcontracted by the Accident Compensation Corporation, shortened to ACC, to assess the disability patient whom needed support. The assessment included assisting in making their home disability accessible and safe. The ramp that was installed eventually was deemed unsafe. We're not going to go into exact details of why that occurred, whilst the other installations in the house were either not completed or poorly planned. The patient then wrote a very complete and concise with photographs complaint that was reviewed, and they wanted the therapist to pay off the additional costs to rectify whatever was installed. It is currently in dispute, and the lawyer defense is currently at $6,200. So that is the sort of incidents that we're looking at when claims occur. Someone has given advice or something has occurred, and then the aspect is really to defend or to provide information or just writing a response back to the patient in question to outline the reasoning behind this. Defending yourself can be very stressful, and this is where professional indemnity does assist and help you to alleviate some of that stress. The next case study is a referral for a driving assessment received from the District Health Board. And the occupational therapist completed the assessment with the patient. Now, in this instance, the additional information about a private situation of the patient was received after the driving assessment had been completed, which may or may not have influenced the outcome. Now, it was material information, deemed material at least from the aspect of the driving assessment. The patient later complained to the occupational therapy board about the outcome, and it went to be disputed. Now, legal was appointed and it assisted in the communication, in the correspondence, the submission, and the formal response to the board. The matter was closed. There was no settlement to the patient in question, and it was closed out in favor of the occupational therapist. And it did cost $7,500 in legal fees, which were completely covered by the insurance policy. Now, probably this claimant was not even aware that the cost of the legal fees were included in their insurance policy. From their perspective, their case was defended, their circumstances were applied, and they continued on with their professional services. The next part of this is really just talking about prompt claims reporting. So claims are really the idea behind any circumstances or claims that do come through is that you should always report any potential claims to BMS. Right, and you can always talk to us and ask us what is happening, what the circumstances, but we're not professionals within the occupational therapy professional. We're not allowed to give any legal sort of advice. The idea is that we would collect information, provide it to the insurer, and the insurer would appoint a panel of lawyers who would then be able to assist with the actual defense. Now, the panel of lawyers are very experienced individuals. They've seen many thousands of these claims come through across not just occupational therapists. There'll be physiotherapy, there'll be other professional therapists around that they actually assist, and they probably have seen this kind of circumstance. So they're able to quickly give very prompt and correct advice in that aspect. You should always formally document the incident, right, including the details of those and who was involved. The more you document, the more you write, the more there is information there, the easier it is to defend your circumstance, the easier it is to really provide a clear picture, clear, concise picture of what has happened and how the circumstances have led or the incident has occurred. Now, submit any formal statements of claim to BMS Group. Now, this could be a submission of formal statement, which you may need to do in respect of a response to the occupational therapy board. What you shouldn't really do, at least we don't advise to do this, is speak to any third parties about the claim. Quite often you will have a member, perhaps a family member of the patient, that would call up and they'll ask you questions about why did you do this, how did you do that, or even worse, if you start speaking to the lawyers or the other any other third parties that are acting under the interest of the patient in question. This leads down potentially a he, she, they, said circumstances, and things can get quite tricky because you could say something that could be misconstrued. Even if you had meant it in a certain way, words can be stripped away and used in a different way. Assume any legal fees before reporting the claim. It's very important not to say, oh, yes, I agree, this has happened. We will pay you for any legal fees. We will pay you for rectifying this instance. Again, it goes into the offer of compensation or to independently settle a claim. So if a patient comes through to you and they're dissatisfied and they say, I don't want to pay for my services, or I want you to refund me the last 5 sessions that I've been with you because I'm dissatisfied. Don't go and assuming that I'm going to compensate you for this. Actually get in touch with your insurer, get in touch with us, get your insurer involved, get some legal advice and what your rights are. It's important to always think that you do have rights as a professional, and just because your patients are not happy or dissatisfied doesn't actually mean that you have been professionally negligent in the service that you have provided. And the last part is quite important. Do not amend any previous records or statements of claim which once has been received, especially once it's been received. Now, once a claim has occurred or circumstance have occurred and you've provided those, any amendments to it does look disfavorably upon yourself and does look like the circumstances could be muddled. So the idea there is make sure that if you have noticed anything that you have written in your notes and this is incorrect, or there was typos, or you've shortened your words, or it could be misconstrued, do that before you submit the claim, just because it is going to be looked at through a very clear and concise manner, and they will notice the dates and times and stamps of whatever you've written, and that could muddy the water of your, I guess, response back. The last part I really want to try to explain is that insurance can be complicated and hard, and we're all professionals working in our sectors, and our needs are to make sure that the clients are happy. So if you are not sure, if you're not certain about a circumstance, you don't know what to do, you've got an incident, or you just have an insurance-related question about whether you'll be covered or not covered, or whether you are adequately covered, there is a dedicated BMS OTNZ-WNA customer service team. They're wonderful. You can pick up the phone. They do work. We work over in the Australian times, unfortunately, which means that we do work 2 hours later than, I guess, New Zealand. On the other side, it could be quite convenient because it would be 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., which means you have an additional 2 hours after 5 p.m. potentially to give us a call and ask your queries. There's also an email, so if it's outside Monday to Friday of those times, you can give us an email into the dedicated email address.
So thank you, Ellie. That's super informative and really, really helpful. And I think this will be quite a popular video for people to be watching after the event, I think. So again, thank you for sharing your knowledge and your expertise about insurance with us today. And we know it's an essential need in our practice. So I think we've already talked about these points on the slide, that the insurance through the collaboration or the teaming up between BMS and OTNZ-WNA, the insurance is at a really very competitive rate. I'm just going to close us with karakia. Te aroha, te whakapono, me te rangi Māori e tātou e, amine. Love, faith and peace be among us all. Thanks everybody. Another shout out to our sponsors for supporting the event this year, and ka kite anō, mā te wā, bye for now.